The Philippines is not far different from any other country. They also experience a lot of hindrances in growing as a nation, as the Philippines had always a long-term problem with terrorism and corruption. Due to that, many Filipinos are being in deep poverty across the country. And when COVID-19 came, this made the Philippines engulfed in a chain of problems that really affected many Filipinos.
In December of last year, a novel coronavirus was first reported as a mysterious respiratory illness that had afflicted seafood market workers in the region of Wuhan, China. The virus had rapidly spread from China to other parts of the world with massive casualties. Sadly, this single microscopic agent had brought the world's economy to its knees, aggravating socio-economic distress, especially in poverty-stricken nations such as the Philippines. This virus, as the world has come to know about it, is COVID-19. As of September 30, 2020, the Department of Health had reported a total of 309,000 cases of COVID-19, in which 5,515 of these were deaths, while 253,000 of these were recoveries. These figures had brought the Philippines on the first place among Southeast Asian countries suffering from the coronavirus. A story of a man who survived the coronavirus will give us an idea of how devastating the effects are. A story that will teach us that we need to take it seriously. A story of a man who beat COVID-19. A Filipino news anchor named Howie Severino led an active lifestyle but had fallen sick with the virus. What he felt like high fever turned out to be a symptom of pneumonia. This prompted him to submit himself for hospital admission, and in a matter of 4 days, his test results came back with a shocking news. He was positive for COVID-19. Knowing that there is a need to isolate oneself, it led him to think of depressing thoughts. He eventually called his wife to say his final goodbye. In his hospital stay, a Filipino nurse named Gabriel Lazaro had been his only companion in his fight with the coronavirus. And in a matter of another 11 days, after completing his hospital quarantine, he had produced 2 negative swab test results, thus allowing him to go back home. If there is one thing that this pandemic has painfully taught us, is that one's economy, even those of the first world countries, could have never prepared for such disaster. Our lives have been always interdependent with each other. As difficult as it may seem, closing one's border would only help in controlling physical movement and possibility of disease transmission. But we could never close our walls to the world. This is where the World Health Organization, the United Nations, the World Bank, and other organizations come in place. The aim is to promote solidarity between nations through collaborative efforts, starting from the initiative of a single individual's discipline that would escalate to a national scale and therefore affect not only his country, but also the world as a whole. The Philippines' call for help has been heard. Countries such as the United States, China, Canada, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, and Taiwan have come to our aid. Financial assistance and a supply of personal protective equipment, such as face masks and other essential medical supplies, have been flown from the United States, Canada, Japan, and Taiwan. Additionally, Singapore and South Korea have donated a generous amount of PCR machines as well as testing kits. On the other hand, China offered donations in kind in the form of rice, which was then distributed to numerous Filipino families. The year 2020 will always be a scar in our lives, with the COVID-19 being one of its greatest painful memory to us. Drastic changes have occurred not only in our physical and day-to-day activities, but most especially with our socio-economic statuses. It is within this trying time that we should place great value and camaraderie between nations through a well-coordinated global disease response to enable the improvement of the world's current health situation. As what Henry Ford had said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success.